What's up, boys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna do the 80,000 mile review. So this car has 80,000 miles on it now. I'm really happy about that. Under 20,000 away from 100K. We don't know if the car will be gone by then or not, but as of right now, it's still building. It's the daily driver, but today's video is gonna be the 80,000 mile daily driver review. What's it like driving a MK7 GTI, 80,000 miles, and daily driving it heavily modified, because this is stage 2 now. For starters, I do want to say this. I absolutely love this car. I thought I enjoyed the Volkswagen Passat with the 3.6 naturally aspirated V6, and I thought that car was so fast for what it was. Oh my God. And it was awesome. It was a big boat, but I loved it. And it had a DSG, it was amazing. And then I got the 204 cylinder turbo with the DSG, and I was like, I got some more room with this car. I can build it, I can put more power into it, but like, how is it stock? How is it with some mods on it compared to the Passat? This car is better stock than the Passat was customly modified. So that car wasn't tuned or anything, but I had it lowered, I had wheels on it, and I had a custom exhaust on it, so I had sound. And this car was better with no sound, no wheels on it. This car was better as a whole. The handling, the driving, the comfort, the steering wheel itself was just so much more sport performance related. Like, everything about that aspect was way better than the Passat, and I can't tell you enough about how much I enjoyed driving, actually still enjoy driving this car. This car is absolutely excellent in almost every way. There's a couple of cons, but 80,000 miles, right now I have no engine lights, no EPC lights. I have one issue with that daytime running light that went out. If you guys haven't checked out that video, God, please go check that video out. It was annoying, but it was great, and we fixed it. But I never really updated you guys on that. I spent $30 on Amazon on a daytime running light that went out, or the module, and the module isn't reading that I have a light in there. It's weird because it only doesn't read it when your headlights are on. So when my headlights are on at nighttime and I'm driving, the caution light still comes on that my DRL is not working, even though it is indeed working. So my goal is, before I get rid of this car, I'm going to get a actual OEM one. I think it's like $300 instead of $30. It is what it is, but I'm gonna get that, so when I trade it in, we have no issues with that. The DCC suspension is getting a little creaky, a little old, definitely clunky. Not a huge fan of that, but I guess that does happen when cars get older, so you can't really complain too much on it, about it. But like, the pros of this car are super fast, super lightweight, handling is great. It's such a great daily driver that I just can't explain how good it is without knowing. Like, you don't really know how it is unless you've driven the car. The car was great stock, but way better modified. I had this thing stage 1 for a long time before I made it stage 2 this past April, and stage 2 is amazing, but even just stage 1 was perfect. Stage 2 is where I would want it to be. I would never drive it back in stage 1. I would never go back to that. But I will say this, just getting a MK7 GTI, especially nowadays, they're cheaper. I paid a lot of money for this one back three years ago when inflation went up. It's a lot cheaper now. You can buy one with like 30, 40,000 miles for just under 20,000, and the modifications are not all that expensive. I have an $800 exhaust. I have a $600 intake. So the amount of things that you can actually do to it for a cheap price, a cheap build price, and put power into it, it's kind of cool. Because looking forward into the future of this channel and the cars we're gonna be building later on, way more expensive than this car cost. It's not cheap. The car payment's gonna be more expensive, and the parts are more expensive. And if anything breaks on it, that's gonna be even more expensive because it's newer. So having an older gem that doesn't cost a lot of money to make fast and sound pretty cool, you really can't go wrong with that. That's why in this day, in this time, I still recommend you go out and you buy a MK7 GTI, because it is the perfect bang for your buck. The reliability of this car, I must say, is damn near perfect. If you don't drive it hard every second, you respect the service, you install these parts correctly, this car will literally run perfect. I've never had an issue to this day. I'm at 81,500 miles. I've never had an issue. I've never had an engine light. I've never had to take it to the shop because something went wrong, even with it heavily modified. And although it's not a super expensive car, so another downside is the plastics get brittle. Definitely an unfortunate part of it. Speakers are vibrating a little bit, and that's okay. So your boy does need new front tires. My tires are getting bald. Some of you have commented that in the last few videos. The rears are actually okay. I'm gonna just source some new fronts And I'm not even gonna go brand new. I might do like used on eBay with, well, obviously a lot more tread than I have here, just so that's good for the winter. But the car has been, I mean, damn near perfect. The only downsides I will literally say is I don't love the front wheel drive. The front wheel drive does make the more power in this car feel really laggy still and kind of sucky. And another thing I will say that I don't love the cheap plastic front bumper. This front bumper with all the plastics underneath, I understand it's a cheaper car. I mean, 35 grand brand new still. But like, I just don't like that because I've had a lot of issues with the plastics underneath this. My old front lip that got cracked, we had issues with that. And obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the connections for the fog lights. Those are very annoying within itself as well. And I love the space in this car. For a car that is very small, it has plenty of space. I pack this car to a max when I drive down south, and everything fits very smoothly, and I will say, I really can't go wrong with that. There's not a lot of hatchbacks in America. I wish there were more, but when it comes to this car, it actually gets you a lot more than you think it does. And with these wheels on it and with what I've done to it over the years, this car is just stunning to look at, stunning to hear. It's got so much balls, and it sounds just, and it just looks like a beautiful daily car. I get so many people that say, I love your car, man. It looks amazing. This is so sick. How is it? And I'm like, perfect. This car is almost perfect. And with 81,000 miles on it now, I can still say I'm ready. Well, I can say I'm ready for my next build, but I can also sit here and say that this car has brought me so much happiness and so much joy over the years. I could not tell you how amazing this car really has been. If you go back and look at all the videos in the GTI build playlist, you'll literally see how much enjoyment this car has brought me, because it really has brought me a lot of happiness. The Passat was getting old, it was annoying, I wasn't a fan of it anymore. This car has just been my project and something that I've always looked to constantly improve on over the years, and I'm obsessed with it to this day. Yeah, so you really can't go wrong. Nothing in the motor is gone. I haven't done any like serpentine belts or anything yet. I've done my oil every 6,000 to 10,000 miles, so that's been pretty much up to date and all cleared. And I've changed my spark plugs, I changed my coil packs when I did stage 1. I've been running smooth ever since, and I haven't had any issues, no oil issues, no nothing, which is great. Now obviously as the car gets older, so if I end up having another 20, 30,000 miles, I will look into those things just to see and make sure, because I've had these spark plugs on for about 35, 40,000 miles now, so I might look to change those again. I have the NGK9s, and then I might look to change my serpentine belt or my timing belt just to kind of get those, keep those updated. Other than that though, I mean, everything is running smooth. My oil looks great, and last time I did my oil was at like 11,000 miles, which I typically don't do, but I just couldn't get it done. I do it myself. So doing it this past time, yeah, and it was still perfect. So I really can't complain or go wrong with any of that, because the car is reliable and I haven't had any issues. Like I said, the only real issue I've had is that daytime running light. If I were to turn my headlights on right now and sit here for about 10 minutes, that warning would probably come on. But it's kind of weird because last time I did that, it didn't come on until it got dark outside. So I have no idea what the ECU is doing, but it's like tripping and it's really weird. So it's something I might just swap out before I get rid of the car or whatever and do that. But at the end of the day, that's why I make these kinds of videos. Well, one, because I love showcasing the build of my cars, because that's what Real Speed is. But two, I also really want to show you guys how dependable, how reliable, how amazing or terrible this car is. And this car isn't the greatest. I will say that. It isn't the greatest. Go for a Golf R if you can, I would say. But it is definitely a fun car to build. It is so much fun. If you're on a budget, you don't have extra money to spend, this is such a great car to get, and you're gonna enjoy every moment of it, I promise you. If you can just get past that small turbo, unless you wanna do a turbo build, which I never thought was worth it on this car because of the front wheel drive. I didn't think making 550, 600 in this car was really worth it, because I'm making about 350 and that front wheel drive is too much. It's too much tire spin, acceleration is very laggy. Not great, but stage 2 is definitely where it's at though. Way better than a stage 1 when it comes to lag. The turbo lag and the spin on acceleration isn't as bad. When you go stage 2, it gets a lot worse. Obviously, that makes sense. You're making more power, more torque. Obviously, it makes sense. But this car definitely has its pros and cons, and overall I will, because this is the last like video we're gonna like make on like talking about this car, so I would give this car an overall grade of about a 7.8 out of 10, where it's close to perfection, but it's not perfection. It has its flaws. Most cars do have their flaws in some ways, But this car has been extremely reliable, extremely dependable. This is just a beautiful, great driving, great daily driver vehicle. Super fast for what it is. A lot of torque, plenty of technology in it for 2017, which is perfect. I mean, handles on the road really well, has a great feel and a great seating position when you're in it. Obviously it's a little older, so you don't have the little one pieces, but that's not needed. I got the Autobahn, so I got the sunroof, which is kind of nice. Even though I don't use it a lot, it is nice to have that extra light coming in. And it's great. Dual climate, Apple CarPlay, adaptive cruise control, digital speed, which some cars that are 20, 30, 40,000 more than this car don't even have a digital speed display. So that is pretty sick. No heads-up display, but do you really need it? No, I don't really care about heads-up display all that much anyway. It doesn't really matter to me. So this car has definitely been a perfect purchase for me in my situation. And I think if you're in that budget type of situation, but you really want to do a car build that's just so much fun, you can do whatever you want with, this is that car to do. And go do it, because I don't regret it. Getting out of this parking lot is always sketchy, especially in these conditions. Oh, there's a bunch of cars coming because of all the water and bumps. It's terrible. Nice little Arteon that just pulled in though, and then I realized there's a bunch of cars. I'm gonna show you the one reason why I love this car so much right now. This is why I love this car so much. That, and then reason number 2, that. It is super quick. We'll do kind of crazy. It's so loud, it's scary. Like, I wonder what people look at me like when I do that. And they're like, what's wrong with this dude? He's such a butthole. And I'm like, no, not me. I'm not a butthole. I'm not obnoxious at all. Why would I be obnoxious? It's so crazy. And every time I drive it like this, I'm like, damn. I love this car. I love it so much. It's crazy. And that's the front wheel drive kicking in right there. It's not great, but it does its job. But I also have to remind you that I've had this car for a lot of miles now, and I still have the same brakes on the cars. I still have the same brakes on the car from the day I bought it. Did not change. I have not changed the brakes in this car yet, and they still work so well. It's actually crazy. And that I will say, can you go wrong? So a car that bumps, a car that goes, a car that pops and bangs, sounds cool, looks sick on the road. Could you be any more entertained? It's pretty sick. And I love this car, so I hope you boys enjoyed this car as much as I've enjoyed building it and driving it myself. And boys, that is going to be the end of today's video. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit the little bell next to it so you get notifications whenever I post videos. We have some cool things coming in the future. Stay tuned. More builds are coming on this channel and a lot more automotive content, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. And boys, peace out. We'll see you in the next one.